What is up, guys? Oh god, that was bad. What is up, guys? This is Orca Flop, and today I'm coming at you with another video. And today I'm coming at you with a Noobs Guide to Cars, Episode 2, the Chevrolet Camaro. I think my voice got deeper because it feels weirder than yesterday. I don't know, it's stupid. Before I want to start this video, before we get this video going, talking about the subject, I would like to give congratulations to One Car Nation on 900 subscribers. You make me laugh with your memes. You make me smile, and you're a really good friend. Cool for you, One Car Nation. Love having you on the podcast. So congrats, buddy. Congrats to One Car Nation. Now let's get on to the video. So, the Chevrolet Camaro, obviously not my favorite muscle car at all, just by the way people treat it and the way people who own Camaros tend to be a little bit redneck/douchey about it. And, at the end of the video, I'll tell you why I really don't like the Camaro, because a lot of people who watch this channel know I actually hate the Chevrolet Camaro, and I did a poll on Twitter for episode 2. I did the Trans Am and the Camaro, and everyone voted the Camaro because they just want to see me rage, I guess. I don't know. But let's get on to the video, shall we? So the year is 1967. GM and Chevrolet have been outcompeting Ford in the full-size and mid-size category with the Chevelle and Impala and Nova in the small category. Two muscle cars, the Chevelle and Nova, that have been, that had the big block 3.5-liter V8s, and you had the Impala, the full-size category that completely dominated that class in American car culture in the late 60s. And in the mid-60s, 1964, Lee Iacocca and Ford and Carroll Shelby developed the Mustang, and it was a huge hit, and it actually had a two-valve engine at first, and then I think it had a V6 in 1965. And then 1967, the first V8 Mustang came out. It was the 1967 Shelby GT350, developed by the man himself, Carroll Shelby. And Chevrolet looked at this, and they noticed that Ford was completely outselling them in this new pony muscle car class. Now, in 1964 as well, the Pontiac GTO started the muscle car era, but the Mustang started the pony car muscle car. So, and Ford was doing amazing in sales with the Mustang, and Chevrolet needed to compete with it since their sales were going down as Ford's were going up with this new Mustang. At the time, it was a new Mustang, and the Shelby GT350 outsold Chevy so much that they were almost to the point in the mid-60s where they were going bankrupt. So, Chevrolet, as a way to defend themselves and their legacy, they started developing a mid-size car with, once again, a 3.5-liter Chevy V8 big block, and they named it the Chevrolet Camaro because apparently it's supposed to kill Mustangs. That's what the people from GM said. So the Camaro was developed in 1967, and the Mustang was still doing great, but the Camaro was rising, and the Camaro started to do very well in sales. And they gave it the two trims at the time in the mid-60s. They gave the Chevrolet Camaro the Z28 and the Chevrolet Camaro SS. SS and Z28 were two trims. Z28 had a 4.7-liter V8 big block, and then the SS had the 3.5-liter. And V6 didn't come out till a little while, but anyway, the Camaro was developed as really, it didn't have much of a backstory. It just kind of was developed to beat the Mustang, the second pony car in America right now. And the Chevrolet Camaro was a huge hit. Many people loved it. And as the sales for Chevy continued, they were still trying to chase down Ford. And after the year 1969, with the Gen 1 Camaro, the Gen 2 Camaro came out with a bit of a rounder headlights and bigger grille. It was Z28 and SS, and with circle head taillights as well. It was a very odd-looking Camaro, to say the least. But it sold well, and a lot of people liked it. But once again, Ford had the Fastback, the Mach 1, the Shelby GT350 still at the time, and they were still doing good in sales. So Chevy and the Camaro were still chasing the Ford Mustang at this time. And as we go on, we get into the mid-70s. The Z28 in particular is going down in sales, and Ford is skyrocketing somehow with the King Cobra. I don't know. But this was at a time that after the gas crisis, no one really wanted to buy, big muscle cars. They wanted to buy more fuel-efficient Japanese coupes, such as the Toyota Corolla and Honda Civic. And during this time, they were very struggling. And because Ford was struggling, Chevy never got rid of their V8. Ford, if you did not know, the 1978 King Cobra 2 had a 2.3-liter V6 that made 106 horsepower, which is pretty shitty, I'm not going to lie. But Chevy, they, with their still developed Z28 design, they kind of tweaked the taillights to make it straight and in lines instead of circles in the rear. And they made a fresh new interior that looked more sleek and luxurious. And they also kept the dotted headlights with a smaller grille. The Z28 and SS were selling amazing, and the Chevy Camaro seemed to get ahead of the Mustang once again. And in the mid-80s, the Z28 was still doing great. At this time, Ford was going down with the Mustang as they developed the new Fox body, and they weren't doing too well at the time. And Chevy was doing great with the Camaro. The Z28 and the SS were now a staple within America, as this pony car war with the Firebird as well. I forgot to mention the Pontiac Trans Am. Yeah, you guys, 20% votes for that, and it's still in this video. Yeah, sorry. There's a little bit of Pontiac fanboy coming in. The Camaro still was outselling Ford at the time, and the Fox body was, for Ford, the Fox body Mustang was not anything but, a short way to compete with Chevy. So Chevy continues to develop the Z28. And the year's 1990, they got a new body for the Camaro. Obviously, the IROC series has been a hit. Basically, if you don't know what IROC is, it was a motorsport in which drivers all around the world would drive the same car and compete at multiple tracks and see who is the best driver in the world. IROC was an amazing series. I miss IROC. And Chevy, for IROC in the mid-80s and early 90s, developed the Camaro IROC Z with the same taillights as the older Z28, but the front taillights were together, but they were like more squared, and the car was a lot more boxy as to where the old 1978 Z28 was more of a sleeker look. And the IROC Z sold amazing but once again, Ford actually changed the Mustang body in 1995, as Chevy slowly was changing the IROC Z into more of a catfish Camaro, or like we call now the F-body Camaro. The new generation Camaro consisted of a sleeker design, a much more advanced material for the mid-90s, and it looked like a catfish. So, like, I wish I could pull up an image of the catfish Camaro. I really just don't feel like doing it. But if you watch the 2018 Southern 500, the white Camaro that had a very sleek look, that was the catfish Camaro. Look up F-body Camaro, whatever. They called it the F-body, but I call it the catfish Camaro. The car community calls it the catfish Camaro. We all call it the catfish Camaro. But at the time, the catfish Camaro, it was doing good in sales, but Ford brought in two versions of Mustangs, the New Edge and the SN95. The SN95 had a 4.6-liter V8, the same N1 from the Crown Vic, so no one really considered it a real Mustang. But this is where Chevy goes downhill for a little bit. Ford in 1999 brings out the New Edge Mustang with a boxier look, bringing back the old taillights from the older Mustangs like the 69 Mach 1 and 67 GT350. They bring that out with a boxier look, and they also bring out the Terminator Cobra with a supercharged 5.0-liter V8 from the stock Mustang GT. And they called it the Terminator Cobra, and they started outselling Chevy in sales. Chevy was developing the Catfish Camaro, or F-body Camaro, the Z28 SS, and then as they developed. But Chevy, they noticed that Ford bringing out this new engine. The new engine as well, the new SVT engines in the late 90s and early 2000s. Chevy brought out the legendary LS1, which was a 5.7 liter V8 with 250 horsepower stock, and you can modify it, do whatever you want with it. They put GM put that in the Pontiac Trans Am WS6 Firebird. They put it in the Catfish Camaro or F-Body Camaro, and they put it in the Corvette Z06 in 2002. And the Catfish Camaro did great. It had 390 horsepower because they tweaked the LS1 for it. Specifically, the Z28 had 400 horsepower with the LS1. The WS6 also had 400 horsepower. The Trans Am WS6 is what I meant. Pontiac and Chevy were still battling at the time because, Pontiac was developing a similar body to Chevy. And Ford is battling with Chevy as well with the new Edge. And the competition between Ford, Pontiac, and Chevy outweighed itself, and Ford beat both Chevy and Pontiac, but Pontiac beat Chevy, of course, because the Trans Am was sold better than the Catfish Camaro. So Chevy, because they went into so much debt of developing the Catfish Camaro, or the F-Body Camaro, whatever you want to call it, they decided to discontinue the Chevy Camaro, and as a result of this, GM had to discontinue the Pontiac Trans Am. And we went for a good decade in the 2000s without a Camaro or a Trans Am. Obviously, Ford and Pontiac were still duking it out in the mid 2000s, the GTO and the Ford Mustang GT. So Pontiac and Ford are still in the game. They're still battling right now in the mid 2000s, and Chevy just kind of sitting there and watching at this point because they don't have a car to compete with anymore. They already discontinued the Chevelle and Nova, but do they really want to try to make more efforts to put more costs into maybe bringing back an old V8 Impala? I don't think so. I mean, they had a project, Chevy Bel Air in 2007, but they canceled that since it would take too much time to develop. They lost so much money developing the F-Body Camaro that it kind of just killed, all their production value. So they kind of just stopped. And for a good while, the Camaro was a dead car, and it was kind of seen as a bust, as it was succeeded in, the mid-60s. But, they brought it back in 2007 when the first Transformers movie came out. They brought back the Camaro SS with a brand new design, with the old school taillights and the old school front end, but it was a bit more of a modern type. This is the Camaro we know now. At the Camaro body you think of in from 2010 to 2019. This is the Camaro that they brought back. Very boxy shape. It was more of a nostalgic feel like Ford did with the Mustang. And Chevy brought a 560 horsepower Chevy Camaro SS. And in 2012, they released the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 with 760 horsepower with a positive displacement supercharger manufactured by GM. And, the Camaro, it put out great horsepower, and for the first time in forever, Ford was chasing down Chevrolet. And at this point, the muscle car era grows back. Obviously, I already talked about the Hellcats in the other video. It was Dodge versus Chevy versus Ford. Every year they'd be switching off. Ford would come out with the 600 horsepower supercharged Shelby GT500. Chevy has the Camaro ZL1, and then Dodge has the Hellcats. But this is the high point for Chevy, and as much as this is going to seem brutal, Carroll Shelby passed away in 2012, and Ford went downhill. They didn't know what to do. And that means the Mustang, for the first time forever, was chasing the Camaro, and the Camaro was at its all-time high right now in 2012. They continued to make the Camaro. They changed up the body style a little bit, the headlights, taillights, and interior, and dash. They changed up the mile per hour graphics a little bit, stuff like that. And the Camaro was still very loved, but that didn't stop Ford from trying to chase down Chevy. But Chevy was still outcompeting Ford, even though the Shelby GT350 wasn't good enough. So, now we're here. We have the 2017 Chevy Camaro SS, and the Camaro has become such a staple that it is now in the NHRA, and most of the teams that occupy it in the NHRA are top-level teams like John Force Racing, with Courtney Force, Robert Hight, and John Force. It's in NASCAR now. In the Xfinity Series, you have the Camaro SS, and now in the Cup Series, you got the 2017 Camaro ZL1 with still the positive displacement supercharger. That's a whole video for a different day of why I think, NASCAR needs to let manufacturers run their own engines like they do on the street. That brings back the stock in NASCAR. But either way, the Camaro's become a staple in motorsports as well. You got the Camaros in NASCAR, the ZL1 and the SS, and then you got the Camaros in NHRA that are also the SS. And you come to today, you have that ugly-ass piece of shit Camaro. The 2019 Camaro SS looks like fucking Sid from Ice Age if you saw my video. I don't like it, but that doesn't give it off that Camaro still isn't a very valuable and important car in modern-day American society. What has the Camaro done overall as a car, and what makes the Camaro so special? The Camaro, it paved the way for competition between car manufacturers. Not even just American ones. You have Japan, the Supra versus the Skyline, Nissan versus Toyota, like I said. You have Mitsubishi versus Subaru with the Evo versus the WRX. You have, I think, Mazda versus Honda as well with the RX-7 and the NSX. Japanese companies, you got Italian companies like Ferrari versus Lamborghini, the 430 versus the Aventador. You have the McLaren versus Aston Martin with the 177 and the McLaren P1. It really, back in the 60s, was the first time we ever saw a car competition like this in the car industry. And that's what the Chevy Camaro did, and that's what GM did, sadly. GM did something good for once. This was the 60s. This is when GM was good, okay? So, the Camaro is a very staple car in the industry that I think a lot of people overlook. It's kind of overrated if you think about it, especially in the NASCAR community. Here's how it goes in the NASCAR community sometimes. Oh, the Chevy Camaro's in NASCAR. Then it's a car. I want a Chevy Camaro. Never heard of the car until it came to NASCAR. That's a totally different video if I haven't already said that. So, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And the Camaro, obviously, it's important to car culture because it paved the way for competition between manufacturers like Ford versus Chevy, etc., like I already explained. So, the Camaro, obviously, it's a very special muscle car that has the same capabilities as the Mustang and the Challengers. It's a very staple and important car in modern-day society that are loved by many people, and therefore it should be respected and loved by those people because it paved the way for competition across the car industry, and that's why the Camaro is very important. How do I feel about the Camaro? Well, obviously, I'm a huge Pontiac fan, and I've hated GM ever since 2009. Maybe I'll make I think I already made a video as why GM's getting hate, but maybe I'll make a personal video to why I hate GM now. I was a huge Pontiac fan. I love the Trans Am and the GTO. Smokey and the Bandit's one of my favorite movies with the 77 Trans Am. Never liked them since, and I never liked the Camaro because I just felt like the LT1 engine that it currently has. I forgot to mention that too. Engine details. It's basically an LS but rebatched with 560 horsepower, like I said. So they call it the LT1 now. The Corvette right now, the Corvette Z06 and ZR1 has the LT5 and LT6, which has 900 horsepower, which is insane. So the Camaro, to me, the competition, I think, outweighs the Camaro for me. Like, Ford, you have the Coyote V8 and the Mustang. That sounds awesome. Dodge, you have the Hemi V8 and the Challenger and Charger. That sounds awesome. To me, the LT1 never really sounded great. And therefore, I think the Camaro is pretty overrated and shitty. Plus, in every car show I've watched, like Top Gear and, Motor Trend Channel, Overhaul, etc., the Camaros always get smoked and they get terrible reviews. Like, you know, I don't blame them. I listened to a Camaro ripping it down the street. Like the F-body Camaros, like the Catfish Camaro in back, those are good Camaros. I like those. But the new Camaros now, it's just like, oh, I don't like that. Now, I just think the LT1, I mean, it's... performance-wise, the LT1 is a great engine because, you know, it's obviously it makes a lot of horsepower and it proves that it's worthy of being in a Camaro. The sound for me isn't good. Plus, I don't really like the way the new Camaro looks. I think it's too much of a box. Like, at least the Mustang and the Challenger have a bit of a sleeker design, and they actually look good and fit with their engine. The Camaro, to me, it's just the look of it doesn't. It just looks terrible. Especially the 2019 Camaro SS. Looks like Sid from Ice Age. For the millionth time, it looks like Sid from Ice Age. It looks like Sid the Science Kid. It looks like Rosie from Caillou. I swear, the 2019 Camaro SS looks like a dog with autism. That's how bad it looks. I don't even know what GM was thinking. I hate GM, but I have no idea what the thought process was. Were they trying to appeal to people with mental disorders? I would think so, because it looks like a Pontiac Aztek. I know, coming from a Pontiac fanboy, the Aztek looked like crap, but it was ahead of its time, okay? It literally looks like a pine cone. It literally looks like a rolling piece of turd. It looks like a rolling turd. You cannot polish a turd. If a Prius and a trash can had a baby, you get the 2019 Camaro SS. It looks terrible. The rear lights are a wannabe throwback to the 60s. I hate that. The original headlights from the 60s actually suited the time. Should have come up with something different. And the front end looks like a baby with a birth defect. Oh my goodness, it looks terrible. There's no color to it. There's no extravagant color. The Chevy logo could have at least been yellow, but it's black, so it's not like there's much color detail to fit in with the rest of the paint job. It's literally terrible. It's all, like, it feels like the entire front end is just grilled. There's no bumper to it because it's all shaded black. It looks absolutely horrible. I don't know what they were thinking. So that's my opinion on the Camaro. Shitty car. Shitty engine, shitty sounding engine, not shitty engine. It is a good engine. But I really don't like the Camaro, and I don't like GM in general. I do like the Corvette, though. Don't get me wrong. It's like one of the only cars from GM I actually like. I actually do like the Corvette. That could be a video for another time as well. So, the moral of this is the Camaro, legendary car because it really started the competition era and beginning of competition between manufacturers and cars in the 60s, and that's why the Camaro is a very stable car in the car community that we should always remember and respect. I respect the Camaro, I just don't like it. So that's that, and so I hope you learned about the Camaro from this. If you're not familiar with the Camaro and its real life details besides NASCAR, then feel free to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter @KyleTrusty2, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.